There's a hole in the ground. You move it, everything falls in, the hole grows. This simple but addictive mechanic shows up in dozens of games on different platforms and has generated hundreds of millions of downloads and dollars worldwide. But where did this mechanic come from? The hole seemed to pop out of nowhere. An indie developer had spent over 5 years crafting a game around this idea. And just weeks before his release, a mobile game using the same concept hit the top charts and went viral, reaching over 500 million downloads.
This video is about the hole, its origins, its influence, and how one simple mechanic spread, was borrowed and evolved over time.
It all began in 2012, when Ben Esposito started developing a game centered around one simple idea: a hole that grows. The game would take him around 6 years to complete, finally releasing in August 2018. During those years, he showed early versions at indie events and even shared short clips and gameplay footage online.
It was unique and original, built around a simple but brilliant idea. But Donut County is not just about the mechanic, it was a full story. BK, a raccoon, thinks he is just using a mobile app, but he is actually creating real holes that follow up the whole town. It's a charming, story-driven puzzle game with characters, clever gameplay twists, and a full story plot.
Just weeks before the release of Donut County, another game just popped up, Hole.io, a game that quickly became a massive mobile success with over 500 million downloads and millions in revenue, and still performing well years later. This is not the only successful Hole game. Later in the video we talk about money and show some games that generate literally millions in revenue each month. Anyway, Hole.io focuses entirely on the mechanic. You play as a hole that grows by swallowing objects, but instead of a real story, you are in the multiplayer arena where the goal is to grow as big as possible and be the last one surviving. So, was this stealing? There's an interesting catch in how we could look at this whole story. Pablo Picasso once said, "Good artists copy, great artists steal." And Steve Jobs took this even further by adding, "And we have always been shameless about stealing great ideas." Austin Kleon, the author of the New York Times bestseller book Steal Like an Artist, has even written a whole book around this quote, saying that nothing is original and creativity comes from remixing, transforming, and reimagining existing ideas. Does this mean it is okay to just take a mechanic from a game, change the visuals, and call it a new game? Where is the border between inspiration and copying? If we look at Donut County, the first Hole game, Ben Esposito said that he got inspired by the game Katamari Damacy, the PlayStation game released in 2004. Where you roll up objects to grow bigger.
Instead of rolling things together, you drop them into a hole. Same sense of scale, same growing satisfaction, but with a new playful personality. So the developer took the growing mechanic from Katamari Damacy and completely changed it while keeping its core, growing by absorbing objects.
Now if we look at Hole.io, it clearly built on an idea that was already public, but it also reshaped it for a totally different space. No characters, no story, just fast sessions where players raced to swallow as much of the city as possible. It was pure competition stripped to the basics. It was simple, clear, and made for short sessions. And that simplicity made it go viral almost instantly. Within weeks, Hole.io was sitting on the top of the App Store charts. It became one of the most downloaded games. So let us know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think Hole.io was a great inspiration, or was it just copying Donut County? But the whole story does not end here. After the massive success of Hole.io, tons of Hole games started to flood the App Store. When an idea goes viral like that, it does not stay in one place. Other studios or developers reinterpret it and execute in their own way, kind of. Sometimes that might feel unfair, especially if you are the one who first discovered this new mechanic.
Let's call this mechanic life cycle. Discovery. A new mechanic appears. Something fresh that captures attention. Adoption. Other developers start to explore it, adapt it, or simplify it. The whole mechanic entered this cycle the moment Hole.io appeared.
Expansion. Over time, the whole mechanic began to appear in all kinds of places. Until now, the whole mechanic was most of the time in a rather open space environment where players had to grow the hole by absorbing objects, but people have been experimenting with different kinds of setups. A few years later, a game called Attack Hole appeared, and it took the same simple loop: swallow items to grow. But it turned it into an action shooter. You'd absorb bullets and weapons and then find giant bosses. This seemingly tiny but important twist turned Attack Hole into a big success with over 50 million downloads on Google Play. Transformation. Eventually, the initial wave fades, but the mechanic lives on inside new gags. The mechanic finds new forms, new moods, and new audiences. Games like All in Whole took the same core concept and transformed it into a calm, puzzle-based experience. It's no longer about chaos and speed, it's about rhythm, strategy, and relaxation. If you look at the games on a screenshot, they might look very similar, but the gameplay has some tiny but important changes that makes the different games target different kind of players. If you compare these kind of games with Donut County, they might not even look like they have anything in common, except of one thing, the whole.
On one side, Donut County shows what happens when an indie developer spent years crafting a personal, narrative-driven game. The game was critically acclaimed, even named Apple's Game of the Year. On the other, Hole.io shows how the same idea stripped down and built for quick play can reach a massive audience, while probably being developed in just a few days.
If you want to speed up your development time, you can check out today's sponsor, Bezi. Bezi is an AI assistant built specifically for Unity developers that syncs with your entire project, indexing your codebase, scenes, assets, packages, and more. So it always has complete context of your game. In under 10 minutes, I downloaded Bezi, connected it to Unity, and had it build a playable Hole.io replica without writing a single line of code by myself. Bezi generated the C# scripts, and I told Bezi to create an editor tool that lets me auto-generate the full scene setup. But Bezi isn't just for rapid prototyping, it's really great at creating shaders tailored to your art style, debugging across scripts and scene objects, writing documentation that actually stays up to date with your code. Bezi's agent mode lets you watch changes in real time in the Unity editor. You can review, accept or reject them before they are applied. Bezi is SOC2 certified, meaning your project data is secure and never used to train AI models. Check out the link in the description and try Bezi for free. Now back to our whole mechanic.
This is not really about whether copying is good or bad. Game design has always been about remixing and twisting.
And this kind of inspiration we were talking about happens all the time in game design. Doom inspired every first-person shooter. Rogue created an entire genre of roguelikes. The same goes for Souls-likes. The question is not, did the developer borrow an idea? It's, what did the developer add to it? For players, the whole mechanic is fun, because it's so instantly rewarding. For developers, it's a reminder that the best ideas are often the ones that deliver a strong, simple feeling. Growth, destruction, or just the joy of cleaning things up. It's also crazy that the whole mechanic is still super popular. Donut County's revenue is estimated $2.6 million just in Steam. The inspired or transformed game, Hole.io, which was also released in 2018, 10 million downloads last month and $180K revenue only in in-app purchases. All in Whole, for example, generated revenue only with in-app purchases of $4 million in iOS and $2 million on Google Play, only last month. Another example is Whole People, and it generates $800,000 only in in-app purchases. And if you think these revenue numbers are crazy, you should check out our other video where we talked about one game that has generated over $200 million in revenue. The Whole is a great example of how an idea can grow far beyond what anyone expected, just like the hosts themselves. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Ciao.